Happy Easter, everybody. I'm just going to be giving a talk about the Easter story. And if we think of the Easter story, we think of this great victory, amazing miracle. What a great day, what a great season, celebration, celebration. But when I'm looking at it, I want to break it down from a story of wonder, but look at it in reality. Like imagine you was actually the disciple there on Friday. And I think when I've broken it down like that, I've sort of found different points that I didn't see normally when we look at the Easter story. So today is Good Friday. So I'm going to be looking at the Easter story up until Good Friday. So we're disciples there up until Good Friday. So the disciples had been there praying in the Garden of Gethsemane with Jesus, their Messiah, and the Messiah who was meant to come and save them has just been arrested and been taken away to be crucified. So that's where we're up to on the Friday story. So I'm just going to quickly read Matthew 27, verse 30. And it says, they spit on him and took the staff and struck him on the head again and again. After they had mocked him, they took off his robe and put his own clothes on him. They led him away to be crucified. So if we imagine the disciples has now seen their Messiah, this guy who was meant to come save them, he's done so much miracles, you're half thinking, I know you could just, get out of this situation, but you're seeing him being arrested, spat on, and you're thinking, how is this anything that is good? Because if we think Friday's not just Friday, it's called Good Friday. And I'm thinking, imagine we could have like a time machine and we could go back in time to this Good Friday and go to the disciples and say to them, do you know what? Do you know it's set down in history that today is Good Friday? They'd be looking at us like, are you crazy? This doesn't seem like a good day. I'm pretty sure there's no way on earth they'd think this is going to be known as Good Friday. Because if you imagine, it's Friday, so they don't know about what's happening Saturday or Sunday. They're looking solely at Friday. So they wouldn't see anything good about it, not realizing that it's going to be known down in history this day as Good Friday. And years later, we're still celebrating this Good Friday. I think if we were thinking of the disciples, they'd be thinking of something that would be a bit more appropriate for this day would be Crisis Friday, Betrayal Friday. Or if we want to activate our GCSE English, remember we were learning about alliteration. I did remember that part of my lesson, GCSE English, was maybe Frightening Friday, Ferocious Friday. Or if we don't want to be so much doom and gloom, Faith Friday, because that's a whole load of faith that we're going to need to have for this day. But no, they decided to call it Good Friday, not even Good Sunday, where, okay, Sunday, yes, it was a good day. It was Good Friday. And only now, us looking back at that situation, knowing how it all plays out, can we see it as Good Friday. And I see this sometimes in our lives. I feel like we go through our Friday, and our Friday might be a whole season. We go through our Friday, and we would never think that we're in this situation, and anytime we're going to look back on it and call it Good Friday. But look at Good Friday and Easter, we're still looking back on it years later, saying Good Friday. And then if we look at the Easter story, the disciples would mostly be looking at Friday saying, Jesus has died. How is this good at all? Think he was on the earth and like, if I got sick, I know that he can just come and pray for me. I'm going to be better. If I was even to die, he could do a whole Lazarus thing and raise me from the dead. How could this at all be any good in Jesus dying? But they can only see Friday, and their view and their thoughts are limited to Friday. But we know now, looking back, that it was Good Friday because Jesus dying brought better. It allowed us to build the bridge between us and God. It allowed us to have direct access to God. It allows us to live in heaven. And even better than all of those things, it allows us to have the Holy Spirit with us, which doesn't limit God, like when he was in human form, to being in one place at a time. We're not going to have any Lazarus-like type situations where we're like, oh, God, I was calling you, but you were busy doing something else, because God can be everywhere all at the same time. All we have to do is call him and he can be there. So, but at that moment in time, the disciples have only been up to Friday. They can't see beyond that. So in their mindset, They can't see anything better happening. And that's similar in our situation. We're here at Friday. We can't see anything better coming because we haven't seen or experienced Saturday or Sunday that's still coming. And then sometimes we're looking at Friday and we're in our Friday season and we're thinking, how can any good come from it? But we haven't seen Saturday and Sunday where then we can say, oh yeah, Friday was a good Friday. I'm just going to move on and read Matthew 27, verses 15 to 17. Then I'm going to jump to verses 20 to 22. And it says, now it was the governor's custom at the festival to release a prisoner chosen by the crowd. At that time, they had a well-known prisoner whose name was Barabbas. So when the crowd had gathered, Pilate asked them, which one do you want to be released to you? Jesus, Barabbas, or Jesus who is called the Messiah? Verse 20, but the chief priest and the elders persuaded the crowd to ask for Barabbas and to have Jesus executed. Which of the two do you want to release to you? Asked the governor. Barabbas, they answered. What shall I do then with Jesus who is called the Messiah? Pilate asked. They all answered, crucify him. And I think for this situation, when we're at this point of the Friday story, if I was one of the disciples, you're thinking, it is so simple. This whole situation of Jesus having to die could have been resolved if these people could have got their act together and just decided to release Jesus. Just release Jesus, this whole drama, the whole everything could all be solved. But no, that didn't happen. And at this time, they can be thinking, how can this be Good Friday? Easily, it could have been Good Friday if they had just released Jesus and crucified Barabbas. And I think sometimes in our lives, we use our natural eyes and we're like, there's a simple solution to our situation. If we had just got that job, if we could just get our finances in order, if that person could just act right, if this situation just didn't happen to me, then everything would have been great. But I think sometimes when we look like that, if that was to happen in the Easter story, if Jesus was to get released, as when you're just focusing on Friday, you would think was the best solution, then we would have missed the biggest miracle ever. We would have missed the biggest blessing to ever happen. So sometimes in our lives, when we're going through our Friday season, sometimes we have to realize that if the solution that we find in our head, that's so simple, so easy, would have solved it, it doesn't always mean that that was the best solution for you. Sometimes it would mean that you miss out on your blessing. And sometimes we have to realize we're looking at it at Friday, and the disciples would have looked at it up to Friday and not realize Sunday is coming. You don't realize what's going to happen on Sunday. It's only Friday. But I do say that not to call out any judgment if you do feel that way, because I'm not going to lie, when I am talking this talk, I was half talking this to myself, because last year was a madness. Last year was a crazy year. Last year is what I will call, because I'm calling this whole Friday thing a Friday season. Last year was a Friday season, and sometimes I'm there questioning like, how, why? But Sunday still must come. At the moment now, I'm feeling a bit more in a Saturday where I'm like, why? Still sort of working it out. But I have to have faith that Sunday is still coming. But even Jesus himself sort of was a bit wary when it happened, when he was in man form. So if I read Matthew 27, verses 46, it said, about 3 in the afternoon, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. Sorry for the pronunciation. I only speak one language. I'm not bilingual, only one language. So my pronunciation's a bit off. But that means, my God, why have you forsaken me? So even Jesus himself, when he's going through that Friday season, got a bit wavered, got a bit worried, got a bit panicked. And I think sometimes we can look at situations and not realize that sometimes I feel like when you're going through your Friday season, you almost get amnesia. You almost get amnesia because you're thinking, Jesus, you are God. And even you said that, but sometimes it's just to understand, sometimes you do. And if we look at, if I read Isaiah 53, verse 5, it says, but he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. And you think sometimes, like now we can look back and say to the disciples, you had that down in scripture, clearly stating what was going to happen to Jesus. Jesus came and always saying, I'm not here forever. I'm going to die. I'm going to leave you. I'm going to bring you a comforter. I'm going back to the Father. He even had a whole dinner to say goodbye. But when the situation presented itself, they're like, what? Huh? But you'd think you knew. But when you're actually going through the situation, sometimes you forget, you completely forget. When you're going through your stress situation, you completely forget who God is or what God has brought you through before. But it's just something to be mindful and remember, you're just in your Friday season. Saturday, Sunday, the week is not done. The next point I want to go on to is I was listening to a preacher called Stephen Furtick, and he said something that sort of stood out to me was, don't waste today's strength on tomorrow's problems. And sometimes we spend a lot of our time stressing over a situation that hasn't even happened yet, a possibility of what might. It does seem very real to us in that situation, but it's a lot of wasted time that you could have been spending on that exact day. Sometimes we worry a lot about our Friday, worrying about our Friday situation, wasting all your strength on that, not realizing that it's only Friday, the weekend is still not ended, Sunday is still coming. And if we look and relate it to the Easter story, if the disciples had spent all their time wasting, stressing, worrying about Friday, Easter Friday, oh my gosh, our Messiah's gone, what are we going to do? How are we going to sort it out? Or decide to just be like, woe is me, let's all sit down and be so sad about Friday's situation, they would have missed the miracle that happened on Sunday because they'd have been sitting there feeling sorry for themselves. And they would have wasted all the energy that they needed for their blessing come Sunday, where they needed to spread the gospel. A lot of the time we spend all our energy stressing, running around in circles and circles, trying to sort things out in our own strength. So we're not only just focusing on the Friday, but we're trying to do this in our own strength. And that's a bit like trying to make a hole in the wall and using a spoon when you have a drill. Why would you use your own strength when you've got God? You waste your time. It's just like wasting your time and getting nowhere. And you do all of this and you're still on Friday, Saturday and Sunday is still coming. I think the Easter story for me shows me how Friday, when you're in your Friday season, it can be everything can seem a bit distorted. Because if we were to look at the Easter story up until Friday, Jesus died, end. But that's not the situation because Sunday still came and he rose from the dead. That wasn't, but if you were to look at it just to Friday, it's a very depressing story. The guy who came to save the world died. But when you realize Saturday and Sunday is coming, it's much more of a bigger picture, a bigger story. And sometimes in our human eyes, situations can look one way because we're only in Friday. So when you're in your Friday situation, you can't see the whole weekend. So you're just looking, Jesus died, because you haven't experienced Saturday or Sunday where you can see the bigger picture. You have to just remember in this situation, it's still Friday, Saturday and Sunday is still coming. And sometimes Friday has to happen to enable Sunday to come. If Jesus didn't die, we would not be sitting here talking about Easter. If Friday didn't happen, there'll be no resurrection and no Easter. And miracles can only happen in the midst of hardship. Loads of times we're sitting here saying, I want a miracle. Where's the miracles? How comes it's not miracles like in the olden days, but you're asking for hardship because that's when you really see a miracle. And I feel like the Easter story is very similar to our lives. Things can seem so bad and you're looking like, when would we ever call this situation good? Because today is Good Friday, not just Friday, Good Friday. When can we ever look at this situation and see it as good? But remember, just like the Easter story, although Friday seemed like the worst day, it was still written down in history as Good Friday. You have to realize the weekend isn't over, it hasn't ended. But unfortunately for us, it's not just like a 3-day thing. Sometimes it's not just a weekend. Sometimes it's a whole, for me, my Friday was a whole entire year before Saturday and Sunday is coming. But we just have to remember when we're in our Friday season, Sunday is coming. And Sunday could bring a big miracle and a big blessing. And when Sunday time comes, then you can finally sit down and say, actually, all things do work out for my good. Actually, this was a good, although it seemed like the worst, it was actually good. And I feel like the Friday season, I feel like is coming for a lot of people during this season with the lockdown, job losses, the uncertainty, financial hardship, the isolation. Sometimes it can feel like a Friday. And this Friday seems like it's dragging. But just like in the Easter story, it didn't end on Friday. Sunday came. And we have to just remember, although it may be beyond our thinking and beyond what we can even think of how this could ever be good, we call Friday, the day Jesus died, Easter Friday, Good Friday. And we all look back now and see it as an amazing day. And thousands of years later, we're still sitting here celebrating this day and calling it Good Friday. But that's because Sunday came. And just remember, while we're going through our Friday season, Sunday is coming, and we will soon look back at this time in the season and call it Good Friday. That's all I've got to say. So that's the end of my talk.